She got a sister that night. I lost the brother I used to be. I never thought a single careless comment could rearrange an entire life. It happened on an ordinary Tuesday, the kind you forget by Thursday. My girlfriend, Riley, was combing her fingers through my hair while we watched TV, half paying attention to the show, half paying attention to me. "You know," she said, tilting her head like she'd just noticed something, "you've got the bone structure for a really pretty face." She laughed. I laughed with her. We moved on to something else. What to order for dinner, whether we should visit her parents on Sunday. Normal things. Forgettable things. Except it wasn't forgettable. Not for me. Later, after she'd drifted off beside me, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, turning her words over like a stone I couldn't put down. It wasn't the first time I'd had that thought. It was, if I was honest with myself, a thought I'd been quietly starving for years, starving on purpose, because feeding it felt dangerous. I got up. I told myself I was getting water. I ended up in front of the hallway mirror instead, just looking, just wondering. My eyes drifted to the closet door. I want to say I walked away. I didn't. I opened it, and the smell of her perfume rolled out, something like vanilla and something floral I could never name, and it made the whole moment feel like I was trespassing somewhere sacred. My hand moved before my brain caught up, landing on a deep green wrap dress near the back. The fabric was cool and slippery between my fingers. Every rational part of me said put it back. I didn't listen. My name's Daniel Reyes. 26. I share a 2-bedroom apartment with Riley on the east side of the city, the kind of place with a leaky faucet we keep meaning to fix. To my coworkers, I'm the guy who brings donuts on Fridays. To my friends, I'm the one who always drives when we go out. Reliable. Unremarkable. Exactly how I liked being seen. But there was a version of me nobody had ever met, not my friends, not my family, not even Riley. A version that had been quietly fascinated by softness, by color, by the whole language of femininity, for as long as I could remember. I'd kept that version locked in a back room of myself for over a decade. That night, the door came unlocked. The second the dress slid over my shoulders, something in my chest loosened. It felt less like putting something on and more like finally taking something off, some old, tight, invisible thing I'd worn my whole life without noticing. For a few seconds, I felt whole in a way I couldn't explain, and that terrified me more than getting caught ever could. I told myself, once, just to know. Then I'll fold it up, hang it back exactly where it was, and never think about it again. I broke that promise within a week. Every time Riley left for her shift at the hospital, I found reasons to linger near that closet. A borrowed blouse. A pair of earrings. Small things at first, things I could explain away even to myself. Then one Thursday afternoon, I pulled out a blush-colored dress with a lace hem, laid it across our bed, and stood there with my heart hammering like I'd just run 5 miles. This wasn't curiosity anymore. I knew that. I wanted to see the whole picture. I started with a little concealer. Then mascara, applied badly, wiped off, tried again. A soft coral lipstick. Piece by piece, the person in the mirror stopped looking like the guy who brought donuts on Fridays. I remembered the auburn wig from Riley's office Halloween party the year before, shoved in a bag on the closet floor. I pulled it on with shaking hands, adjusted it in front of the mirror, and went still. The reflection wasn't a stranger, exactly. It was more like meeting someone I'd always sensed was there but had never actually seen. Confident. Calm. Whole. I don't know how long I stood there. Long enough to forget the time. Long enough to forget everything, including the sound of a key turning in the front door. "Danny? You home?" Riley's voice cut through the apartment like a siren. I ripped the wig off so fast a few bobby pins scattered across the floor, and I shoved it under the bed along with the dress, still half unzipped. I scrubbed at my face with the closest towel, smearing more than removing. Footsteps in the hallway. The bedroom door swinging open. Riley stood in the doorway, studying me with a particular look she gets when something doesn't add up. "Why do you look like you saw a ghost?" "I didn't hear you come in," I said, too quickly, laughing at nothing. "You scared me." She didn't laugh back. She stepped into the room instead, eyes moving slowly across every surface, and my pulse climbed into my throat. Had I missed something? Left something out? Then her gaze stopped moving. fixed on a spot on the comforter. A smudge of coral lipstick pressed clean into the fabric. Danny. Her voice went flat. What is that? My mind emptied out completely. Probably from, I don't know. Maybe you left it there before. I haven't worn that shade in months. She crossed her arms. Maybe it's old then. From a while back. Even as I said it, I could hear how thin it sounded. Riley's eyes narrowed, flicking between the stain and my face, clearly not buying a word of it. For a long moment neither of us said anything. Then she exhaled and shook her head.
Fine.
Weird, but fine. I actually believed I'd gotten away with it. That relief lasted about 4 seconds, exactly as long as it took her to turn toward her vanity. I cleaned my face. I hadn't touched anything else. Her makeup bag sat open, brushes scattered instead of stacked, a foundation bottle left uncapped with a fresh streak across the rim. Riley stared at the mess for a beat, then turned back to me, slower this time. Were you in my makeup?
What?
No. Then explain this. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. The silence did the explaining for me. I watched her face move through confusion, then something sharper, then a kind of stunned realization. Danny, she said, quieter now. Were you trying it on? No, I wasn't, I swear. My voice cracked on the last word, betraying me completely. Her eyes dropped to my hands. I followed her gaze and saw it too late. A faint sheen of clear polish still on my nails, the one detail I'd completely forgotten to erase. Riley's breath caught. Oh my God. I took a step back, like putting distance between us could undo the last 10 minutes. I can explain. Explain what? That you've been wearing my clothes? My makeup? Sneaking around while I'm at work? Each question landed heavier than the last, and I had nothing to put up against any of them. She started pacing, hands raking through her hair, somewhere between furious and completely thrown. Then she stopped and looked at me dead on. How long? I stared at the floor.
Danny.
How long has this been happening? There was no version of this where lying still worked. A few months, I admitted, barely above a whisper. She let out a long breath and pressed her palms into her eyes. I don't understand any of this. Neither do I said, and it was the truest thing I'd said all night. She looked at me directly. Is this a fantasy? A phase? What am I supposed to call this? I don't know. My voice wavered. When I do it, something in me finally feels quiet. That's the only way I can describe it. Silence stretched between us, long enough that I braced for the worst. Then, unexpectedly, Riley sighed. Not an angry sigh, something closer to tired. You should have told me. I blinked. You're not furious? I'm angry, she said. But mostly because you didn't trust me with this. Her expression softened by a fraction. Do you actually want this? Like, really want it? My throat closed up. I couldn't answer out loud, but she must have read it on my face, because something shifted in hers too. For the first time all night, it didn't feel like she was looking at a secret. It felt like she was finally looking at me. Okay, she said quietly. Okay. She nodded slowly.
Yeah.
Okay. A small, unreadable smile crossed her lips. Let's figure this out properly. Somehow, that sentence scared me more than the confrontation had. Riley knelt beside the bed and pulled out a storage bin I'd never seen before. My stomach dropped. What is that? Preparation, she said simply, popping the lid. Inside, dresses, folded neatly. A makeup case. Accessories still in their packaging. You planned this. Maybe I had a feeling, she said, eyes glinting with something between amusement and challenge. Sit down. Let's do this, right? I should have said no. I sat down anyway. She worked with a steadiness that surprised me, blending, brushing, occasionally leaning back to study her progress like an artist checking proportions. I hated how natural it felt. I hated that I didn't hate it. There, she finally said, stepping aside so I could see the mirror. The face looking back was softer than the one I woke up with. Unfamiliar in a way that didn't feel wrong. She held up the green dress from all those weeks ago. My chest tightened as I took it from her hands. A few minutes later, I stood in front of the mirror again, and this time there was no one zipping it and shoving it under the bed. Riley circled me slowly, taking it in.
See, she said.
This is a lot, I said, shifting on my feet. Is it? I think we should slow down. Her smile didn't fade, but something calculating slid in behind it. She pulled her phone from her back pocket. Riley. The flash went off before I could stop her. Delete that. Another flash. Relax. It's just for... I'm serious. My voice came out harder than I meant it to. She glanced down at the photo, then back up at me, unbothered. They're staying right where they are.
Why?
Because, she said, slipping the phone back into her pocket, secrets have this annoying habit of resurfacing when you least expect them to. Maybe next time you'll just tell me the truth up front. She wasn't yelling. She wasn't threatening, not exactly. And yet the room felt smaller than it had 5 minutes ago, and I understood, with a strange, sinking clarity, that whatever this had become, it wasn't over. It was only just starting.